Hi, friends.
Hi, Jocelyn. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Terry.
Oh, good. Okay. I got it working.
Yay.
Yay.
Well, I can talk to you, but I don't know if I got you.
Who's that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you see me?
I cannot.
I don't know what I'm doing, but at least I got to hear you.
Do you see at the bottom of your screen where it has the mute and the video button?
You're talking to me. I'm looking at you.
Okay.
I'm still looking. Jeez. I don't know. Can you see me? Nope. But I can see you. Does that count?
Not yet.
Huh?
It
Oh,
counts.
I can see
Definitely.
Terry, and I think it's Emily and you. Well, I'm here.
Hi, Linda Tyler.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi.
You don't have to.
Hi, Dylan.
Hello.
Hi, Dylan.
No, do you want
How's
to
it
put
going?
the food away?
Hi, Emily.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Yes. Yes. That's fine. Well, yeah, we're gonna drop off. We've got 3 cars, so I mean, whenever you need it, it'll work for us. Thank you. Yep.
All right. Well, it's 7 o'clock. I just muted everyone, but I'm going to get started. Dylan, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay? Awesome. Okay. Well, like I said in the email that went out, I appreciate anyone interested in getting on tonight. And really, it's just a forum to ask questions. We've been putting out a little bit more information about what to expect this summer. So if you have any questions about that, we're slowly learning more about what returning to play will look like. So you're welcome to ask questions about that. And if we don't know the answer, we will find it out and report back. But I just wanted to welcome everyone. We had one of these about a month ago, and coaches, the feedback we got, there weren't a ton of people on, but it sounded like we were interested in having one of these every month. And just kind of getting together to see each other's face. So here we are. I can unmute anyone that wants to ask questions or chat. And if you look at the very bottom of your screen, there's an option to click participants so you can see who's on. And you can raise your hand in that way. I'll unmute everyone now, but I'll go back to muting if we get to talking over each other. And you can also mute yourself or add your video or take your video away at the bottom left of your screen.
I haven't figured that one out yet. But I can
Bernie's
see
still
you.
working on
Blech.
it. Perfect.
At least I can see you. And you can hear.
Yes.
Jocelyn, I don't know, but I know you have to hover over the bottom of my screen in order to pull that toolbar up to mute in the video. So whoever's on there may have to hover at the bottom.
That's a good tip. It's not always up there. So to start, we had our virtual summer games just last weekend. And for the past 2 months or so, we've been offering the virtual activities online. Does anyone have any questions or comments about either of those programs?
I think it was really exciting to see it. I think we had 4 athletes from Jefferson County that participated. And so I think it was a great option for them. I think they, I'm not very computer literate, so I didn't really help many of them get started on this, but Kathy Whitmire helped a couple of people. And I think if they ever do it again, we'll definitely want to chime in. I would definitely recommend it.
Very good news.
Sorry, our folks were in isolation, or not isolation, they were in their homes.
Yeah.
Couldn't come out.
Still
Can't come out.
To that point, we have the option. We're trying to put together some activities that we can get out to athletes that maybe don't have computer access, or maybe some equipment that they would need. Bernie, would your guys be interested in something like that?
Yeah, I think, yeah, some of my softball players would,
Okay.
and my bowlers. That's all I got left.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll make note of that. That's good.
You just send them my
there
email.
anyone- Okay.
And
Is there
I-
anyone else that wants like hard copies of activities or physical equipment to do some of the at-home stuff?
I think a lot of ours have smartphones and stuff, that the ones that are interested in doing it, they get on their phones.
Okay. We are also rolling out, which I just emailed today,
Here we
summer
go.
camp, which is going virtually. And the goal is to do different stations via video. There's a whole new Facebook site that will be for camp only. And I sent out the link to that. So anyone who would normally attend camp, or even athletes that would need something to do for that week and don't normally attend, I would encourage you to send them that Facebook link. And again, that's something that we could convert to something that they can do at home without a computer. So if that looks like activity cards or flyers with a description of the activity, we can make that available to them. But camp would be not next week, but the following. And activities will be running every hour instead of 2 videos a day like we've been doing so far. Dylan or Linda, do you want to speak to, Dylan, you've been making some of those videos. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so kind of like the layout of, can everyone hear me first?
Yes.
Okay. So kind of the layout of camp is it'll start at 9 a.m. every day with a little introduction and how the day will look. And then every hour there'll be a different sport throughout the day. So, you could start off with tennis, Soccer would be the next, and so on and so forth. And those would be based off of Flipgrid. I know we've put on our Facebook. Has everyone heard of Flipgrid before?
No.
So Flipgrid is a way that we are trying to communicate with our athletes and have our athletes communicate with each other. So kind of how it works is we have different groups on Flipgrid, and one of them is SOMO Fun. So I think the question that was posted on there last was, what's your favorite snack? And then so athletes will post a video, describing what their favorite snack is, and then athletes can comment back or post their own video. So that's kind of what we're leaning towards for the sports camp. Is we'll have different categories under the sports camp one. So all, like for soccer, we would post a soccer video each day that would go over a drill that they can work on at home, and then they can post a video on there. And then we'll also incorporate our Facebook page into that as well.
Thanks, Dylan. Any questions about camp?
You want me to talk about the evening activities? Because that's what I'm doing, Justin.
Oh, sure. That'd be great.
So the evening activities, we're doing something each night from 6 to 7 via Zoom. And the first night we're doing a trivia night with the athletes, Monday night. Tuesday night we are doing, it's either scavenger hunt or bingo, I can't remember which one. Tuesday night, scavenger hunt, and then Wednesday we're doing a bingo night, and then Thursday we're having a dance. So we're doing just something every night that week as fun activities also, like we would do at camp.
Cool. So anyone, coaches, if you want to dip in and get drill or activity ideas from some of those videos, you can check that out. Or it's a great way to link athletes together. Maybe that feel like they're missing out on the social piece of getting to see their friends. That would be a fantastic way for these activities in the evening to kind of link some of your teams or your athletes together. So expect that coming a week from Monday. I also sent something out about our state outdoor games. So as of right now, we're still planning on returning to activities July 1st, which for us would mean some basic socially distant practices. Our activities or our competitions, we're trying to push until the end of August and early September. So you have more time to practice together and get back into a routine. We can't have you come back to practice July 1st and then have a competition July 12th, which is why we moved softball. So we'll be putting out, if you read through the attachment for state outdoor games, it said next week we're getting guidelines from SOI of how to return to practices and still be safe and a little distant. And then we'll convert that into something for Missouri specifically based on our area guidelines and send that out to you.
Jocelyn, I'm sorry, do you have like a time? I mean, I have a coaches meeting with softball and football in Bochi. It's the 24th. Do you think that will be all put together by then? Should I push back?
That gives us about a week after we hear from SOI. So I would say that's cutting it close. At a minimum, I could give you what SOI is saying. Or if you want to push back your meeting just another week, I think you would have something more solid from us.
I'll do that then.
Okay. Terry, do you want to talk about you had an idea of
That's awesome.
softball, perhaps just having people do skills this year instead of team play. Are you still thinking about that?
Yeah, that's one of the things we were discussing, because the biggest concern is everybody sharing equipment too quickly before we can get it sanitized. And so we figured just to keep everybody distant, and from doing that, we might just turn our practices into skills practices, and so that we can break off in areas of the field and have one player at a time work on the throwing, one player work on the batting, things like that, so that we're not having to have too much contact on the field. And then if we didn't do the skills, some of the players may not be interested, and you keep their interest that long with skills training, is we can also have like an Indian ball game during that practice time, so that basically the ball is just going to one person and then thrown right back in again and sanitized by the coaches, and then repeat it for another play. But we're really kind of leery about having the full-blown practice where players are running from base to base and hitting and picking up the bats and throwing, and so we're looking into kind of adapting it that way. But I'm anxious to see what SOI comes back with ideas on practicing and what would be the safe practice, because I know that's a big concern. We sent a Survey Monkey for a lot of our participants in our programs to see who was interested in coming. One of the questions was who is ready to come back for sports this summer, and we only had like 50% actually say they were feeling comfortable with that. So if I can get some ideas to maybe make them feel a little bit more comfortable, I think that would be great.
A lot of kids bring their own equipment, luckily. I mean, I know there's some gloves that are shared, but a lot of kids bring their own bats and their own gloves and their own balls. So maybe we just have to stress that. If you have it, bring your own.
Right. That's one of the things we're going to do. We have a lot of people that live in residential facilities, and they don't have that access. So those are the ones we got to kind of really watch.
We're muted now.
True.
What about helmets?
Oh, yeah, helmets
Yeah, a lot of them have their own helmets. We're going to get that spray sanitizer stuff to spray down all the equipment in between players, that they usually use for a lot of little leagues and stuff too, and see if that will help.
That's something you can get off on Amazon.
Or I think you can get any sporting equipment place too. They usually carry that stuff.
I don't know. My chiropractor bought a $10 bottle of Lysol from me a couple of weeks ago. I thought that was pretty good for price gouging. He was desperate. I told him he was crazy, but whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
Does anyone else have like agency or school guidelines that they know they're going to have to follow?
Nope. Still waiting on them.
Okay.
I have to say, next step, we're kind of like following the lead for SOI and Special Olympics. So, we're talking about how we're going to do the practices, and they're saying, well, we need to really figure out, what SOI is suggesting, because they've really got more of an ends on all of this than any of us do individually as agencies. So I'm anxious to hear that they're coming. I'm excited to hear they're coming back with ideas for us. So I'm anxious to see that. I'm sure it'll be good.
We had a call this Monday with the kind of team physician from SOI, and there was someone on in a similar role from the Olympic and Paralympic Committee, and then from the National Federation of High Schools. And they're, having the same discussions. It's going to be tough in the summer with masks for outdoor activities. I think they're nervous about having people in masks and then doing a lot of physical activities and that.
Yeah. She knows me.
But we're thinking of doing, like taking temperatures of athletes before competition. And Connie, can you mute your phone? Sorry. Thank you. And, you know, doing what we can to distance everyone in a dugout or on a playing field. So maybe bringing your own chair, or, you know, I think equipment is going to be the hardest part. Like, what do we do with that to keep it safe and sanitized? They're talking about maybe having different levels of activity come back to play. So, for example, you know, flag football is one of our sports that we do in the summer, and that has a lot more player to player contact than maybe bocce or sometimes softball. So that might be on a different level that comes back a little later than some of the sports that we can be more distant. The individual sports like golf and tennis, also sports we're working on for the summer. Those could come back to competition maybe a little earlier than something like flag football. So I think that's kind of what we're looking to see come down the pipe.
Jocelyn, another thing that we're probably going to enforce at our practices is that parents not join the practices, you know, that they stay in their cars or in the parking lot and keep their distance, so that we're not encouraging our athletes when they're off the field to go over and talk to another parent and share what they're doing and stuff. We're trying to keep it so that we're not in group discussions and group activities, even with our parents as they're waiting for practices to be over.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was mentioned too. I know not everyone is comfortable having a drop-off situation for their practices, so that's something we have to think through. But yeah, just to cut down on the spectators and the parents that are around. Good point. Does anyone feel like there's struggles that they would have returning to play that we've not discussed already?
Yeah, definitely. We're having a hard time just finding space to practice. The high schools that we normally would utilize are not allowing us to do it. And of course, one of the facilities that we used to use, which was Fenton Athletic, has closed. So we can't use that either. So we're kind of to the point where we're not quite sure where we're going to even be able to practice at this point. So that's kind of really been a big struggle for us. That's just come down the pipe this past week. So I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah, I saw that on your Facebook. You were at Ursuline.
We were at Ursuline. Yeah, we were at Ursuline for softball. And they've said that they're not going to allow any outside teams to come in and rent the facilities, which is fine. I mean, I totally understand it, but I think we're going to run into that problem anywhere we go at this point, and especially this late in the game, trying to find some place. So I'm not sure what we're going to do.
Sure. Yeah, that will be a struggle for competition as well, just where to do it.
Yep.
Jocelyn, has it been discussed if teams can't get together for practices? I know that for state games they're encouraging so many weeks of practice and stuff like that. Will they lift that requirement just so they can go to state? So like if we can't get a practice together, you know, we're concerned about numbers, you know, where they're going to have, how many people actually can come out. Like I said, only 50% are interested. So if we can just say, if you can't make the practices, you can still compete. Will they go ahead and allow that this year for the state games?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to do our best, pushing back deadlines for rosters and all of that. The 8-week recommendation for practices, you know, that's just not going to be feasible, I think, whatever we're looking at. So I think it's just keeping in mind the safety of people returning to play and not getting injured. So if you feel like you can't get any practices in, you could still attend competition, but maybe think about just doing skills or something that's a little lower impact. But yes, that would be an option. Would it be helpful? We can start making some calls on behalf of SOMO and just see what facilities would be available to you. Would that be helpful? Okay. and put together maybe a working Google Doc or something with those links.
That would be great if we could get that with contacts. I mean, we could do our own, and we've been trying to, but it's just really been hard. And I don't blame any facility. I know it's hard for them too, because they're trying to follow CDC guidelines and figure it out themselves. But yeah, I mean, any help we can get at this point, of course, to get the kids back active would be great. But, you know, I think at this point, our fear is that, you know, if we only have 50% of the kids even wanting to participate anyway, how much, you know, is it worth going to all these facilities and trying to pull for them if then we only have 5 kids show up? Sure. Where that facility could be utilized by someone else. So, you know, it's a sensitive area both ways, and I don't know. I think we could use the help, but at the same time, I just think that it's going to be real. I think it's going to be very limited to what we have available, unfortunately. I mean, we could get together and practice in our front yard. You know what I mean? We could throw the ball around there, but at the end of the day, the practices, like Terry was saying, it's going to be really hard to have the players practice a whole lot before any of the competitions. So I think that's going to be our biggest struggle.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we'll build as much of this infrastructure back as we can, but then it's up to the athletes and their families what they feel comfortable doing.
Right.
So you might have a lot of them that just aren't comfortable returning to practice and competition, and I think that makes total sense.
But I don't want you guys, I just don't want to put you guys in a position where you're calling all these places and you know, I mean, it's a great thing to do, but at the same time, the reality of it is, you know, it's not that it's not worth the time, but if we're going to have to, you know, pay for a facility, or we find a facility where we don't have to pay, that's fine. But also, what is the give and take on time frame to try and get that done at this point in the season? So don't, you know, like I said, we're trying to do stuff on our end too to find things, but we realize that it's going to be a hard challenge for everyone. So
one thing I'm gonna throw out to our athletes too, you know, on the line if they can't make practices and stuff, is I'm going to make copies of those Fit 5 exercise cards. Yeah. And I'm going to share those with the athletes who can't come to practices but want to continue on with the competition at the end of the season. With Jocelyn saying, you know, one of the biggest things with not practicing is you worry about injury. So maybe just encouraging them to even keep a chart and show us that they're actually making that effort to do their stretches, to do their exercise and skills and stuff like that on their own, so that we know we're not going into this where they're just been sitting around all summer long and then going out on the softball field or whatever the case might be. So that could be an idea too, you know, if we can't get to practices together. Mm-hmm. And those, you know, those Fit 5 exercises in there. Oh shoot, did I lose you?
Nope, we still got you.
Okay, that was my computer then. So those Fit 5 exercises are great. I mean, we've looked through them, we've shared them through softball season last year. Whether or not they do it, you know, we can't be there to make them do it, but asking them to keep a chart and charting what they're doing, and it kind of gives us an idea of how serious they are about it. So
yeah, that's a great idea. So we have the Fit 5 program, if you're not familiar, is focusing on 5 days of physical activity each week, drinking 5 glasses of water a day, and eating 5 fruits and vegetables each day. But the activity portion, there are booklets that SOI has put out with stretches that any athlete can do. And so we have copies of those, and there are a lot of activities online. If anyone's interested in that, I can definitely make that available.
Lori has a question.
Yes.
Johnson, are they going to have to sign a waiver with this corona thing? Like my grandkids had a tournament up in Jeff City last weekend and again this weekend, and they made them all sign waivers saying that if they got sick from the corona or something from being at this tournament, that they weren't reliable. And how are they going to how are we going to keep our athletes fresh and clean from the restrooms, because we're not going to go in the restroom behind them or make sure they're not touching something. You know, if you're so concerned about this, I don't understand how that's going to happen.
There may be some additional paperwork to sign off on as we go into competition and all come back together. That I don't know for sure yet. And the restrooms, you know, we will have additional antibacterial and hand stuff available. So, you know, it might just be whatever's done in the bathroom. As soon as they're coming out, coaches might have to police just using hand sanitizer and wiping down and that kind of thing. So there will be that additional step as we come in and out of bathroom.
That's what I'm asking. Is there going to be something that we can use to wipe down before we even sit on the toilets or whatever? The athletes can, you know, clean the toilets or whatever before they sit down, because you don't know if it's been wiped off before another person was in there. That's
Right.
what I'm asking.
That's a good question. I mean, we'll be at public facilities, so we'll, you know, we might have to bring some of our own stuff. I can't say that the toilets will be wiped down between each use, because that probably won't happen. So we might have to do some of that, or have athletes empowered to do that too. That's a good question though.
Yeah, it's not
I'm
fluid.
just
It's not
concerned.
transmitted by fluids.
You know, a lot of these people,
You cut out, Lori.
be around stuff like that if they can't even get out.
Sorry, Connie and Lori, you're cutting out. We're not really getting you. Did somebody have something else to that point?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Lori was just saying the group homes weren't going to be allowed to be out.
What's not allowed to be out?
Some of the group homes, like Emmaus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Understood.
There you are.
Can I ask, is the Afton tournament definitely canceled this year?
It is. So there's no regional tournament. We just moved the area tournament in Cape Girardeau later, and we'll go right from that to state.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
So we can have our tournament. We were cleared, and Hawk Point
Okay.
said they'd with us and everything. So yay, another tournament.
Yay. That's exciting.
I'll send
Wait,
you.
which one was that?
Hawk Point.
We still have the Francis Howell local tournament on the books for, I think it's August 15th. Suzanne is with Lincoln County, and as of last year, they started a local tournament too. So she's saying that Lincoln County has gotten the go to hold their tournament, which was in Hawk Point. And that kind of sits, between Troy and Warrenton-ish?
Yeah. And I'm thinking like September, so that hits after Cape, before States, kind of in that open area there, and hopefully gives people enough time to practice. But I'll send you dates tomorrow, and you can let me know.
Okay, great.
Is that for all age groups,
So-
those tournaments? Is that all age groups
Yes.
and skill
Yep.
levels too? Individual
Yes.
skills and stuff? Okay.
We had not offered individual skills last year at the local tournaments, but I think we'll have to this year, just assuming that that will be something more people take advantage of.
Totally in for that. We've got up to 4 fields that we can use there. We ended up only using one last year.
Right.
We had all 4 fields at our use, so It's a great facility.
And you said that's
It is
probably going to be
really
September? I'm sorry. You said that's probably going to be September?
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking at the second or third week, whatever Jocelyn decides is good. They're currently in for whatever we're going to do.
That would be great. Thanks, Suzanne.
Yep.
So softball's covered. We're still waiting on some of our other facilities that we normally use to kind of get back up and running. Tennis, my goal is to still use Clayton Shaw Park. I am looking at moving golf. We're just kind of shopping different golf courses that will allow us to have 2 people per cart, and that might have to be broken into 2 different days. So maybe 9-hole golfers one day, 18-hole a different day. Bocce, I would like to return to Lindenwood. I've just not heard yet what their school time frame looks like, if they'll allow us to be on court or on fields. And flag football, we're trying to book Washington High School again. I just don't know what that physical sport will look like yet. So we're also waiting for SOI to kind of finish building out our season. And I apologize that I'm sure people want to know what's coming up. I'm just asking, as things open up in the county on Monday, the 15th, I think that will kind of change what space we're able to use. And as we hear from the national organization about returning to play, I think we'll have a better idea of what our competitions can look like. So apologies for it being kind of behind, but that's what we're dealing with right now. To that point,
Jocelyn, on Bocce, I noticed they're only going to limit, because of the time frame at state, they're only going to limit to, is it singles and unified? Is that right? Is that what they're going to put out there for competition?
It's regulation and unified. So an athlete could do one of any event, singles, double, team, or unified. But not, in the past, they could do regulation and unified, and that is not the case for state.
Right, they're just get one event, one of those events. Okay,
Right.
How is that? Are you going to do the same thing with the area, do you think, or just to kind of keep everybody from mixing too much?
I don't think I'm going to limit that, but I'm looking at, that might have to be 2 days as well. So singles one day and doubles and teams another day, just to spread it out that way. If you've not taken a look at the handout that went out today for outdoor games, please do so. That has an updated schedule for what that will look like. And similar to what we just said, we're just trying to break it apart in a way that distances as many people as possible. So please check that out for state. And again, I mean, it will be more relaxed who is moving on. So we know you can't practice as much. You will have to attend the area event to advance to state, but there won't be a whole lot of regulations as far as how much activity you've been doing between area and state.
Now, speaking of state, this year, these are qualifying games to be considered for the 2022 games in Orlando, correct? Like they have to get gold medals at these outdoor games if they want to go on, be considered for bocce or softball or flag football or any of the other sports at outdoor games.
Yeah, that process should have started with summer games this year. So Susan Schaefer's working through what that looks like, but it might be a combination of what they won at state games last year and what they win this year. So yeah, I would definitely encourage anyone interested in advancing to make the effort to get there this year, but I don't know. We'll have to make some exceptions because of what's going on.
Right. But state games got rained out last year.
Outdoor did, yes. I'm talking about summer games this year would potentially reflect on summer games last year, and then outdoor games this year, including softball, hopefully will get off the ground. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Okay, sure. Anything else we can chat about for the summer through early fall?
So do you think they'll definitely have flag football at the outdoor games though, with it being more of a contact with equipment and stuff? Or do you think they're still considering not doing the football this year?
Yeah, I think football is the most questionable one. I've not heard any talk of not doing it, but perhaps that will all be a skills option, or, you know, it might not be like head-to-head contact like we've seen in the past. Dylan made a good point. He wanted me to remind you that with state games, the way they're looking this year, you know, with no lodging, we would not be collecting an SGA this year. So it would, I still don't think they would be collecting the $30 fee that we normally charge if you're not lodging with us. Thanks, Dylan. What else? Anything, guys? Anyone have any good social media stories that they've been connecting with athletes? Terry had a good one.
When we did our go-to meeting. Yeah,
Yes.
that was interesting. We tried to get everybody together because we hadn't seen each other since April and or March. So we thought it would just be fun to have their faces on the screen, and wow, it was mass confusion in the beginning, but it was fun in the end. Yeah, they were just so excited to see everybody that we just couldn't get everybody to stop talking. So, but it was really, really exciting, and we're going to try and do one again next Tuesday for our guys. We haven't gotten much response this time around, so but we're gonna see if we can get them going maybe once a month. And we'd like to. One of the ideas I have for this summer, we're just trying to come back with activities. I run a recreation program for Jefferson County, and we're just trying to come back with activities that are suitable and helping them with the distance. And one of them is using those go-to meetings, which is similar to Zoom, and reaching out to them once a month just with different topics for us to just share and people talk and you know, and just share, you know, maybe release some stress or whatever, and maybe incorporate some of the SOFIT topics into those too, if we're going to continue them through the year, because our agency is not very optimistic on what this whole next year is going to be like, on how much we can actually meet and get together in group sizes. So we're going to make some adjustments.
Jocelyn, we've been having a blast. We do every Monday night at 7 o'clock. We have a FaceTime or a Zoom call with all of our athletes. Well, with the ones who want to be on there, but we usually get between 8 and 12 every week. And we just let them talk. They love to see each other. They love to egg each other on. They want to see what T-shirts they're all wearing. And so we're having a good time with that. And then next week it's kind of fun. Kirk's not here, so I can tell this, but the athletes for his birthday next week, so they're all doing a parade, and they're all going to do they're going to do water balloon fight and throw water balloons at him as they go by. So he doesn't know. So I don't know if anybody knows him. Don't tell him. But we've been having a good time with them, and it's a mess. It's all over the place. They're all talking over each other, but they don't care. They're happy to see each other. So yeah.
Our Turkey Stars bowling team, we've had about 3 Zoom meetings during our normal bowling time, and they're just so happy to see each other.
Me
We've
too,
had
Jocelyn. How you doing?
That's
How are you?
That's Jason back. I mean, he wanted to get on the air, but we asked each one to either tell a joke or what they've been doing, and we've got 10 bowlers, and we've had either 8 or 9 on each Zoom meeting, and they're all looking forward to getting back. I hope it can be in a couple of weeks.
Definitely. And guys, we have the ability to share this Zoom account. So if you feel like you don't know how to set up a Zoom meeting but want to make that available, we're happy to set it up and send you the link, and everyone just needs to click in like you did tonight and can see each other in the same way. So please feel free to utilize that, and just email me if you want to set something up.
Thanks for updating us, Jocelyn. Thank you.
So the Zoom thing, you have to be the administrator, right, Jocelyn? We can't be our own administrator for that Zoom. So
I can set it up and then make you the host after it's going. So
Okay.
that's definitely an option.
Okay. I mean, not that I mind you, I just don't want to take up your time if it's necessary. You're welcome to join us anytime. I think you enjoyed seeing those athletes that night too, so it was fun.
Any other 2 cents?
I love the meetings this way.
Good.
We don't
You're not
have to
tired
go
of
through
Zoom
rush
yet?
hour. No
Right. Well, that's a good point. I mean, there's no reason our coaches meetings don't have to continue like this. So even when we can get together, maybe this is the best option for us so people aren't traveling. So that's a good point, Bernie.
Oh, yeah.
Jocelyn, I have a question for Special Olympics. Do they have, for athletes that live at home on their own, any way for them to stay connected other than a phone call, or maybe it is that phone call that just keeps them connected with everyone?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we have volunteers and staff that would be happy to reach out to anyone if we have their contact info. Okay. And, it might be doing, now that we can kind of get back outside, maybe it's doing a little social distantly gathering. So, meet at a park and just have everyone bring a lawn chair and their dinner or something. I think there's ways to do stuff that's not necessarily online. But that's a good point. I mean, we have athletes that can't connect in this way. So we're trying to be creative about how we reach out to them. We can send them activities, but that would still be doing it solo at home. So, even if there's a way to connect them with someone that has a smartphone so they can do it like once a month or once a week, let's think about that if you have people in that situation.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, one of the things that we're going to incorporate through Leisure Services is trying to get started a friend-to-friend contact, which I got that idea off of that Recreation Council meeting I joined in on, just to reach out to those who don't have families that they're living with, or like Kathy said, they're just living on their own and they just can't get out right now. I thought that was a great idea. Even if you can do FaceTime with somebody just to see how they're doing and they can see another face. I think that would be really good.
Yeah, or like pop by and visit them through the screen door. I mean, that could be an option too.
All right, great, thank you.
Sure.
We have 22 that are doing that challenge, much like what Rich Black was doing up in Warrenton.
What's that, Connie?
I said, we have 23 that are participating in that challenge, much like Rich Black was doing up in Warrenton. Can you hear me?
That's true.
Probably not.
Kind of similar. You guys were kind of doing Fit 5-ish activities, right?
Yes. Yes.
So Connie's challenging them to do different activities and assigning points and looking for prizes and stuff for doing these activities. So keeping them moving, doing things, and then kind of getting some reward.
A good place for a reward is Dollar Tree.
That's true. As long as it's
Yeah,
not
good
food, I'm
stuff.
okay with it.
Right.
And different stores have different stuff.
Yes.
Very true.
I love Dollar Tree.
DeSoto just got their first one this year. Woohoo!
Hey.
Oh, wow.
World.
We're up and coming now.
Right. All right, guys. Well, this was super helpful discussion. I totally appreciate all the feedback that everyone had to give. And hopefully, if you logged on, you got a couple ideas for the next couple weeks. Like I said at the beginning, we'll try to do this once a month and just check in, share ideas, and I'll continue to send out information in between as we get it, especially in these next couple weeks from SOI. So be looking out for that. But we're still working, even though we're remote, and can answer any questions anytime. So feel free to hit us up.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jocelyn.
Yeah.
Good to hear
thanks,
from everybody.
Good. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Everybody have a good evening.
Bye, Bernie.
Bye, baby.
Hi, John. Sorry, I'm a Walton fan.